this week's series of the Brown Paperbag. I'm with your co-host, Mr. Kola Brandon.
Thank you. I'm with your host, Mr. Brandon Lewis. Let's see what's in the bag.
Alright, we're gonna have our guest pull out what's in the bag today. Let's pull out one sheet. What is it?
Yo, look at the
Law. Oh, wow.
So what you do is you just gotta, whatever that word brings to mind, you just speak on it.
Yeah, and so we do it for 1 minute, and so anybody can go first. So I'll go first this time since you went first last time. All right. So when I think of law, I think about a system, an institution that was put forth to represent the people. I feel that it's very intricate. There's a lot of information and knowledge about law. It's very detailed. You really have to kind of know about it in order to understand your rights, which we are all granted. I do think that it gets a little muddy though, in the sense that law is there to, in some cases, it's there to protect us as people. However, I'm not quite sure if everybody's afforded the same type of protection, and that we could look at the school to prison pipeline, the industrial prison complex, and things of that nature. And so I think that it's always great when you're dealing with law to make sure you have the best representation that you could possibly get. And I do think that with a lot of that comes finances. The more money you have, the better, I guess, legal representation you're able to have. So on that note, I'll pass it. All right, that was a good one.
My interpretation is not as deep. Not saying the word is not that deep, but my actual interpretation is not that deep. But when I think of the term law, I'm thinking of a structured or an attempted structured set of rules or guidelines that was put for us to follow to keep order in a way to veer away from uproar or any kind of controversy over the years or over time that might have diminished a little bit or changed due to our personal understandings of the word. And for the most part, that's it.
Okay. Now we have the lawyer here to
This was not planned.
That is kind of crazy. So I got some good luck.
So, I mean, to me, I always look at law as a useful tool to accomplish your needs and your goals. And there are plenty of laws on the record and on the books right now that are, as Brandon mentioned, here for your protection, and others that are here to keep order, if you will. I believe that the law is a double-sided sword. You can use it to your advantage to pursue your goals and your aspirations when it's beneficial to you. There may also be time periods where the law has to be challenged and adapted and brought up to speed with current real-life situations. And so the good thing about the law here in our country is that it is something that can be adapted. If we look at what the original Constitution drafters had in mind, it's different from what exists today in many different ways, and that's because the law is a living, breathing document, at least here in the States. So that is one aspect of how I look at the law. But it's also, as I mentioned, a useful tool. The more knowledgeable you are about the law, the more opportunities you have to utilize the law for your benefit, whether that be learning how to enter contractual agreements to protect yourself when you're doing business with someone, or whether to utilize the law to defend yourself if you've been discriminated against, for example, or if you need to use it in order to protect yourself physically. Knowing how to do that, under what circumstances you can. So those are some examples. And I think it certainly plays a pivotal role in helping to maintain order and just give some sort of reliability, if you will, to individuals' day-to-day interactions. So it kind of helps set some guidelines, so there's some level of expectation that you can go by. So I know if I hit somebody in a car and it's my fault, I can expect that I'm going to be responsible for that. And if I'm the person that got hit by someone else and it was their fault, I can have an expectation that I'm going to be compensated and made whole. Without the law, where would we be? Basically, trying to find out, it could vary depending on how big the guy is in the other car.
All right, thank you so much for that answer. All right, so this week we have a very special guest with us. We have attorney Thomas Reynolds. We'd like to thank him for being here with us today. You may have seen Thomas either on the Grammys, sometimes sitting in the front row. You've also seen him possibly on different billboards throughout Atlanta. He's been practicing law here for quite some time. A very successful entertainment lawyer, but we're going to get into all the different aspects of law that he practices. So we're going to start off with Kola asking the first question this week.
Yes, sir. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you today and interview you.
My pleasure.
And just from your introduction, I can tell you are a man of many things. So you must do something else besides law. And I would just like to simply ask you, what all do you do?
Gosh. I try to devote time when I can to helping with service projects throughout the city, whether that might be, speaking at career days at schools, or even going down to the Atlanta Mission on occasion to help out there to feed the homeless. I'm an active member in my church, which is Noonday Missionary Baptist Church. So those are, I'm married, I have a wife, so that's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, so those are kind of my, extracurricular activities, if you will. In addition to just my typical practice, so I'm blessed to be able to practice in a field that is also one of my hobbies, right? So, if I love live music, right, that's one of the things I would be doing in my free time anyway, but I can be paid to do that and, can make a living enjoying musical performances and going to the Grammys and networking there. So I don't know if that's outside of law, that's outside of the practice, of drafting and negotiating contracts, but it's still, in many ways, I'm blessed to have the interest that I have correlated with things that I can actually be compensated for in my practice.
That's a great blessing. So keeping it
I
right
travel.
Travel?
Yeah.
Enjoy
Yeah,
travel.
exactly.
Keeping in that area of what you said last, how did you get into law and the things you do? What's your educational background?
I've kind of known I wanted to be a lawyer since as far back as maybe 5 or 6 years old, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I was watching this show back in the day called The Judge. So it's kind of like a people's court.
Yeah,
sort of
I
thing.
remember.
And I remember being little and watching TV homesick from school one day and having a thought along the lines of, man, those people are not really getting their point across very well. I could do better helping to explain their position to the judge. I was a little kid at the time, but then I realized that person that advocates and speaks on behalf of others is a lawyer, and that's what I wanted to do ever since. So I went to high school in the great county of DeKalb County here in Georgia. Graduated from Chamblee, and just like I kind of always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Also, as soon as I began looking at colleges, also kind of knew I wanted to be at Morehouse, based on the history of Martin Luther King and Samuel and just so many prominent and successful black men that have come out of Morehouse, and the mystique that was associated with the school. I kind of always knew that's where I belonged and that's where I was supposed to go. So I applied some other places, but my mother was like, "You got one year. You got 1 year. I'm gonna take care of you at the school for it. And after that, it's a private school. You could go to Georgia State or UGA and full ride on hope. But you got 1 year to make something happen." So, although I was smart in high school, I wouldn't have considered myself a straight A student by any means. So it was really critical for me to kind of focus once I got to undergrad at Morehouse, particularly in light of the fact that I didn't know how I was going to pay for my second year. As a matter of fact, at the end of my first year, I had a balance. But during freshman orientation, I remember the freshman dean making a statement that anyone who finished with a 3.6 or higher, he would personally walk over to get a scholarship.
Oh, wow.
And that stuck in my head, and I said, well,
motivation.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah, so that's what I did. I had like a 3.8 or something after the end of my first semester, which I'd never had a 3.8 in high school. But with that proper motivation, just kind of realigning your focuses. I also knew, even though I wasn't always always a straight A student, I always knew what I needed to accomplish in order to progress to the next stage. And I knew that in college, every grade, every semester mattered, and you need to get into a good law school. And so I had to really, buckle down, if you will. And I did. I ended up graduating and then doing decent on the LSAT, and I was accepted into Columbia Law School in New York, which is where I finished my legal education.
So one of the things I was thinking about, well, one, I know we've been friends for quite some time, and you actually had my mother's class at Morehouse, and I've known you for quite some time. And one thing that you said that you realized that you wanted to be a lawyer around like 5 or 6 when you were watching. Was it 6 when you were watching The Judge?
I don't remember the exact age.
Okay, but somewhere in the area. And one thing that I was thinking about as a young black child of that age, for it to come to you is pretty remarkable, right?
I thank God for that.
Exactly. So always showing honor to God. So one thing that I wanted to ask is, particularly with what you're dealing with within entertainment, right? So many of our black youth, and you could say youth in general, but I want to specifically focus on black youth, tend to target the route of, I want to pursue being like a rapper or some type of entertainer or whatnot. What was it about you that you knew that you might want to represent them? Like, what is it about the representation that attracted you to? I know the TV show, but once you started like learning about it and things like that, because you could have pursued whatever type of law you wanted to, right? So what got into the representation? Because I don't think a lot of our young black youth understand that there's multiple ways to make money in the entertainment industry without necessarily holding a microphone.
No, that's a very good point, a good question. For me, my path to representation of artists in the industry is it started actually with me doing promotions. I, like many people, even once I was in law school and started to learn about the field of entertainment law, I didn't necessarily look at it as something that was for me initially. And the reason why is because whenever I had heard about entertainment law, even in law school, and definitely prior to then, it seemed like something that was very out of reach. It seemed like something that you had to have connections for. You had to be tied in, if you will. If my father was Barry Gordy, then maybe I could be an entertainment lawyer. But just regular me from DeKalb County or the east side of Atlanta, what was I going to be? How was I going to make my way into the entertainment field as a lawyer? How was I going to get people to work with me, etc. So it wasn't even something that was initially on my mind. However, I was in the promotions industry because in college that's what I did to make money. I used to throw events and throw parties. When I went to law school, no one told me, I didn't have any family members that went to law school and told me this is like way harder than undergrad, so you need to put everything else aside and just focus on studying. So I kept promoting parties in New York City.
Oh wow!
During law school, because that's how I was used to making money. And so throughout me promoting in New York, linking up with some friends of mine that were already on Wall Street, and then making some good relationships with some established and well-known promoters up in New York. Shout out to Roland Skinner, who at the time was like one of the top 5 or 10 promoters in New York, period.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So all the hot spots or the club envy that you used to hear about when we were back in the early 2000s or late 90s, that were those clubs that every entertainer was at and everybody went to. I was connected with the people that were doing those events. Gotcha. And so I would bring the young professionals to the events. That would be my niche, if you will, to kind of get the crowds diverse. But fast forward, at my alumni networking event I went to at Columbia, I bumped into a gentleman who was already in the music industry. He was a lawyer by trade, and he at the time had a female artist that he was going to be putting out. So he was trying to tell me about this young lady that he, had signed to his record label, and at the time I was, thought I was special. I was throwing parties in New York. I was a young kid, thought it was cool in school, so I didn't really pay much mind. He seemed cool, we chatted and stuff, but I didn't know this artist. She wasn't on the radio. I never heard of her before at the time, so it was whatever. Sure enough, he kept telling me by this summer she's gonna be everywhere. And I was like, whatever, okay. So,
right. Just talking.
I'm everywhere.
Right.
Just joking. But seriously though, when that summer came, she literally was everywhere. I mean, still here. I mean,
Oh, wow.
And the record was My Neck.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
So she was working with alumni from my law school by the name of Gary Jenkins. Shout out Gary. So he really kind of got me started on the path towards entertainment because number one, I knew somebody that was in the industry then, right? He legitimately had a song or a record he was affiliated with. And then the next thing that happened was pretty critical.